What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my breakdown of Mythic Loki's banner. I'll also be going over my tier list of Dark Mythics and also the builds for all of those units. So we have got Loki as a Dark Mythic who can give you extra attack in the Dark season, and she's got Supreme Thoque as her preferred weapon. This does have Canto 1 built in, and it also has Wrathful Staff built in, so it's just going to be running Dazzling Slot B skills. And then she also has -1 special cooldown with the staff. So she has got Glitter of Light as a 2 cooldown special, and she also gets a pulse effect at sort of every turn. So this will allow you to pre-charge Glitter of Light at sort of turn 2, and you can even use this with other low cooldown specials. But Glitter of Light is actually a pretty good special for Aether Eight's defense, and then she's able to get +X attack and resistance in combat, depending on 20% of her visible resistance +6. So this is going to be giving you anywhere from 15 to 17 attack and resistance in combat, and then she gets guaranteed follow-up attack. And finally, she's got true damage based on 20% of her resistance, so she can do some damage in Aether Eight's defense, but a lot of the times the good tanks are still not really going to be taking too much damage. But in case you catch off guard some kind of opponent, this kind of extra damage output is going to be helping you. And she does come with Return Plus, but Magic Shield Plus is pretty much going to be her best assist, because it allows you to take another action and also give your allies the debuff neutralization status, so that is going to be very useful in summoner duels for the action economy. And then she's got Glitter of Light. The flash effect that it has got built in is going to be helpful in Aether Eight's defense if your opponent has got some kind of tank that doesn't have Null Counter Disrupt in their kit. So it is going to be making it harder for the opponent to tank. You can also run some other specials, but I do like this for Aether Eight's defense. And then she has got her Slot A skill in attack resistance catch. So this is not a good Slot A skill for her, because Still Water is the most optimal option so that she can function better with her Slot C skill and also with her weapon. So that is going to be a Slot A skill you should be running. And then she's got Dazzling Discord, which is a good skill as she does have good resistance. So it is going to be inflicting the Discord status, which is going to be another negative status effect on the enemy team. Dazzling Discord is going to be helpful on the staff units that already want to stack up their resistance to use something like a ploy skill. So on a unit like Cornelia, this is going to be a good skill. And then she's got Divine Deceit as her preferred Slot C skill, which is going to be making her unique. So at sort of both player phase and enemy phase, she's going to be checking for the resistance of the foes in the cardinal direction. And then she's going to be inflicting the Gravity Ploy on them, which is not the biggest deal because we do have a lot of warping. So you can still circumvent the gravity if you're going to be facing Mythic Loki. And then she's going to be again using her resistance to inflict the foes in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her with the Ploy status and the Exposure status. So Ploy status is going to be disabling the usage of Grand Strategy status, Bonus Doubler status, and also Treachery. And Exposure is going to be giving all of your allies 10 true damage per hit. So giving the true damage to your Aether Eight's defense allies is really good when you're going to be boosting up their attack as well. And this kind of effect is going to be aging well, because unless they make any kind of Light Mythic who has the cleansing effect of Freyr, this is going to be staying relevant, and it is going to be helping your Aether Eight's defense team. And after the start of turn skills have triggered on player phase or enemy phase, she's going to be checking for the foes in 3 rows and 3 columns, and then neutralizing their visible status effects if they've got 3 or more bonus status effects. So this is going to be making it harder to use the Prime skill in Light Season. So it's probably going to be making it so that only Citrine is immune to this kind of status cleansing, because it does have the wording in her preferred weapon where she does say that after the start of turn skills have triggered, she gives out these status effects. So Citrine might be something you can use. So this kind of bonus status neutralization is really strong, as we have seen with Duo Thor dominating in summoner duels. And now this is going to be something you can use in your Aether Eight's defense. It is going to be having the same range as Emblem's Severance, so you're still going to be able to dodge this if you don't have any kind of unit in 3 rows or 3 columns. But for a lot of the tanks, they're going to be having a tough time because they're going to be stacking up Resonant Blades and Shields from Asker, and then debuff neutralization and order status from Peony. So all of that is just going to be getting neutralized, and the main way of dodging this is pretty much not having more than 2 status effects active on a tank. You're still going to be needing to do some damage to a tank like Emblem Ike, so your Aether Eight's defense team is still going to be needing units in that, but a lot of the other tanks that don't have insane flat damage reduction like Emblem, they're going to be struggling because their visible status effects are going to be getting neutralized, and if Embla is on the same team, then you're not going to be able to give them any kind of extra stats in the combat. So this is going to be a huge thing for both Ether Raid's defense and Summoner duels, and then finally she's able to get +5 attack and resistance in combat if any kind of penalty is active on the foe, which is going to be active because she has got Dazzling Discord and Ploy status and everything in her kit, so it's going to be pretty easy for her to get this. Her combat is not going to be all that important, her support matters a lot more, and overall Loki is going to be functioning as a pretty solid Ether Raid's defense mythic unit who is going to be just taking care of any kind of visible status effects of the tanks. And she can also work in Summoner duels, and it is going to be a bit map dependent, but for example right now the map that we have got, Loki can definitely work pretty easily on there, even with her 3 rows and 3 columns range. And the unfortunate thing is that even though she's a flyer, she can only give you any kind of warping support because Soaring Guidance is going to be in slot C, which replaces her Divine Deceit, and she can only run Soaring Echo because then she would have to unequip her exclusive skill. And Loki is going to be relevant for the upcoming Summoner duels that we have got on that same map. So there she's going to be playing a huge role because she can suppress the raid boss strategies that stack up a lot of status effects on a single tank, and any kind of team that has got a lot of status effects, she's going to be able to get rid of that, which is going to be quite a major thing because then you're going to be losing out on something like Triangle Attack from Brattle Katria. So Loki is a pretty nice support unit, and you mainly want to stack up the resistance on her so that she can ploy more enemies, and that is something you need to do with her Slot A and Sacred Seal. And now let's take a look at my Dark Mythic tier list. So I'm going to be having Loki solidly in tier 1 because even though there's not a lot of competition when it comes to Dark Mythics, she's still the best Dark Mythic I find compared to pretty much all of them. Even though she's not insane like Freyr is in the anima season, she's still going to be a pretty solid Dark Mythic, and she is going to be certainly better than the recent Dark Mythic in Kvasir. So unfortunately she's going to be finding herself in tier 2 because she has not really aged all that well, and the main way of using her nowadays is by ditching her preferred special and her preferred weapon and running Devoted Basket Plus, which is going to be giving you that pre-combat damage, which you can stack up with Flared Sparrow and Occultist Strike, and Fatal Smoke can just disable the healing of a tank like Emblem, and then you do a lot of pre-combat damage and die basically, and hope that the next nuke on your team is able to take care of that tank. So unfortunately Kvasir is going to be here despite being not that old of a Dark Mythic. And then I've got Embla, who does get a bit better with the pairing of Loki because you can have Embla in one column and then have Loki in another column and have their ranges overlap. So we're going to be shutting down a lot of tanking strategies, but still Embla's combat has not really aged all that well. She's really not going to be doing much, and you're not going to be facing a lot of teams to begin with that have Far Saviors in the light season. They're just going to be bringing their tanks. So I feel like she has also aged a bit, but still she has got the support that she can give. And then I've got Note in the tier 2 finishing it off. So Note is going to be helpful in high threat range teams like Flyer Lines and Cav Lines, and also in rally traps. But there's really not much going on for Note outside of the Pathfinder. Her remix and refine is going to be soon, so hopefully it is going to be something equivalent to Dagger, because Dagger got a really good remix and refine. But still her slot B skill is really outdated. And then we have got Medius starting off tier 3. I also do think that Medius has fallen off a bit, even though he does protect your team against Bolt Tower. But the reason why I think he is not really as good anymore is because there's going to be a lot more high threat range teams or Dancer Trap teams or just any kind of teams that force you to engage on turn 1. And low threat range teams that use Medius are really not going to be all that threatening because we can just get rid of the triangle attack with the Ruse skill. So Brattle Katria is really not as intimidating as before, and hit and run, Gale Force, and tanking all have gotten better. So the low threat range teams are not really going to be as annoying to face. So Medius is going to be here in my opinion, but still he could be used as it really depends on your team composition, and he has gained Dragon's Roar and Lagu's Friend as high investment options that he can run in Arena. Then I've got Yoon, who is going to be enjoying Mythic Loki quite a lot because you're able to yoink the debuff neutralization status with Mythic Loki, and then Yune is able to pretty much panic and debuff all of the opponents. So she can stack up the pre-combat damage, and she does get a bit better with Mythic Loki. And then finishing off tier 3, I've got Bramimont. So they are good nuke, and they can stack up the damage reduction piercing with attack resistance tempo, but we have so many competing nukes nowadays, and Bramimont unfortunately is not going to be all that tanky compared to a lot of the other nukes. So they're going to be able to nuke, but that's pretty much it. And that is going to be end of tier 3. Starting tier 4, I've got Triandra, and she got a really abysmal weapon refine and remix, which doesn't really do too much for her. And she is in a season where Mila is always going to be there to isolate her. She doesn't really have anything to protect her from that. And the saving grace of Triandra is that she's a flying unit, so she can run Soaring Guidance, Guidance 4, and run Aerobatics, and just have better mobility, but that's pretty much going to be it. And then finishing off tier 4, I've got Hell. So she is going to be a bit hard to slot as a melee Dark Mythic in Ether 8's defense. She's definitely a lot better now after Remix and Refine, and I think that she can also be used in Summoner duels because of being able to run something like Wyvern Rift. And then in tier 5, I've got Sothis, probably the worst Mythic unit that we have got. She is going to be providing no support, and she doesn't really stand out in the combat. If you did get her Forma in Holoforms, then you can try and run her with Dragonstone Plus, and that's pretty much going to be it. So that's my Dark Mythic tier list. I do think that Dark Mythics struggled overall compared to Anima Mythics, where we have got Freyr and Mirabilis. So let me know what do you think about this, and how would you rank these units? I do think that there's a bit of a gap between Mythic Loki and Quasir, because Mythic Loki is at least able to provide some kind of good support, whereas Quasir is pretty much going to be there for the combat. So there is a bit of a gap between tier 1 and tier 2, but that's pretty much how the cookie crumbles when we have got insane tanking units and also insane player face tools. This banner is going to be having main value in the colorless pool, but a lot of people might not really find Ginunga Gap or Legendary Glimmer as a desirable option, so it might be not the best colorless color share that you're able to have with Mythic Loki, and maybe in the future she is able to get better one. Blue is also there with Nerthus and Veil, so they can be useful, but if you don't really want the Scowl effect, or if you don't really use the Gale Force strategy that much, then their usage is not going to be there. At least you're going to be having Rion Reinhardt, who can provide you with Arcane Thunder. Red is going to be mainly having Severa giving the value, and then we've got Legendary Uria and Legendary Nana, who are not the most insane Legendary units by any means, and then green is the absolute worst color to summon on this banner because it is really lacking when it comes to fodder and unit strength. Next month we should be getting a Fallen banner at sort of the month, and Legendary Sigurd and Legendary Male Violet are going to be getting their remix banners, so if you're trying to finish up their merge project, then it could be helpful to you. And a Bridal banner is also going to be imminent in May, and finally you can also look forward to a new Fire Legendary unit with arguably a much better Legendary banner. So it is going to be having Emblem Ike and Emblem Marth color sharing, which is really high value, and then green is going to be having Riom Lucina with a new Fire Legendary hero along with Legendary Female Lear. So it is looking like Fire season, and green seems like the main option that they're going to be going for because the red, blue, and colorless pool are already occupied, so there's really not much of a change for them. You can click the link on the screen right now to check out my former builds for this month's Hall of Forms, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube set boxes are about as functional as your status effects against Mythic Loki. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.